Right now, the NBA is dealing with a healthcare fraud scandal. Federal prosecutors say 18 former NBA players stole nearly $4 million from the league's health insurance plan. They're accused of filing fraudulent paperwork to get reimbursed for medical and dental procedures that never happened. Joining us now to talk about the scandal is Brandon Scoop B. Robinson. He is a sports and entertainment industry journalist. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you. Thanks for spending it with us here at NewsNation. So 18 former NBA players indicted. How exactly did they go about this? And was there a mastermind in all of this?
Well, it's my understanding that Terrence Williams, a former New Jersey Net player, recruited other players to join in. And what essentially happened was there was some paperwork that was put on letterhead, and they were filing those claims to various doctors' offices. And it's from my understanding that once some players at the same time had a root canal, there were some questions that were asked as to were these guys actually getting any type of medical procedures done. Some notable names include Glenn Big Baby Davis, Darius Miles, Ruben Patterson, and a multitude of other guys. Tony Allen, who'll have his jersey retired sometime this season. It's a problem, and they took nearly $4 million, as you mentioned, leading up into this segment.
So it was a root canal, a snafu that blew them up, that blew up their game. Any idea what kind of punishment these players could face?
So I actually did reach out to a couple of players that were involved, and I'm told that some of those players actually did start making payments before in repayment in order to get it out. Various players that I've spoken to, they believe, and some NBA officials have shared that if you do 10 years, you get a pension in the NBA and you get health care forever, and your kids get health care till you're 30. I'm told that some of that money will actually be refunded via their pensions if they qualify for it. So the NBA is not playing, and it seems as though some guys really thought they could get away with it. The root canal is what really was the nail in the coffin for this situation.
So what kind of quality health care do these players have? And what kind of protections will be put in place? What kind of protections will be put in place so that this doesn't happen again?
Well, I spoke to a current player earlier this week who shared that, again, you have health care for life once you play in the NBA and once you retire. And essentially, as I mentioned before, players' kids are qualified for health care until they're 30 years old. So they're straight in that regard. But you have to play 10 years in order to get your pension. So a couple of those guys I know were first-round picks during their era and played about 9 or 10 years. So I know they'll qualify for their pension. I believe Ruben Patterson and Darius Miles fit that mold. So in answer to your question, it's going to be interesting how the NBA handles this, specifically because in the era of just us being home and figuring next steps with COVID, PPPs, and a myriad of other things, this isn't really a good look. And it seems as though, people are cracking down on what's going on. And, these guys, unfortunately and fortunately, are going to be made an example of. You can't fraud the system, and the NBA is not playing.
So you've seen it all, right, covering all of the sports scandals. But are you surprised to see this type of a scandal in sports?
No, because I think, just as I mentioned before, with unemployment scams and PPP scams, I believe that sometimes you got to get the big fish in this regard, it seems. And I think that this is a lesson that if you do play and you're currently a player, you got to kind of set up your checks and balances accordingly. And that's a whole nother different ethics lessons as it relates to just saving your money, having businesses that elevate you after you retire and more. But some of these guys who are involved in this, I can tell you, money has been an issue, but also many of the guys that were involved are also playing in Ice Cube's Big Three League. So that raises some questions just as far as money management and some of those other things that go hand in hand.
Yeah, this is something that people will be paying attention to. Scoop B, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, ma'am. See you soon.